Welcome, everyone. I'm Kelly Lenvoy. Welcome you to another episode from ACE's hashtag See Arthritis series. I'm pleased to welcome today's guest, Dr. Liam O'Neill. He's an assistant professor at the Max Rady College of Medicine at the University of Manitoba. His research focus is on understanding the biological events that occur prior to the development of rheumatoid arthritis, or RA. Dr. O'Neill, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Your podium presentation is titled Safety and Tolerability of a Combination of Curcumin, Omega-3, and Vitamin D. And your study looks at that combination as a means to prevent RA. Can you explain why these three supplements were chosen and how might they help reduce the risk of developing rheumatoid arthritis?
Yeah, it's a great question. Our research group, as you mentioned, is quite interested in preventing rheumatoid arthritis in individuals who are at risk. And we've been working on this for a really long time. Myself and my mentor, Dr. Hania Gabalawi, is here at the University of Manitoba as well. And what we've learned a number of things over the past a number of years. And one of the things that's really important to people, and we've learned this through patient advisorship, is that people want to prevent RA, but they want to do it in a way that's focused on lifestyle modifications. There have been a number of RA prevention trials that have looked to use established rheumatoid arthritis medications, and what we've basically shown is that they work to prevent RA when you're on the drug, but once you withdraw it, prevention effect disappears and you really get a delay of the onset of RA. And so we're much more interested in doing something that you could potentially do long term, something that you don't have to withdraw. So we were guided by some of our patient advisors to look to lifestyle modifications, and we turned to nutritional supplements, which is what curcumin, omega-3, and vitamin D really are. There's an animal model that was done, it was published, and it showed that the combination of the three supplements actually reduced the incidence and severity of what's called collagen-induced arthritis. So we were really encouraged by that. That work was led by Neelafar Mukherjee, another researcher here at the University of Manitoba. The appeal of the three supplements, we believe them to be well tolerated, and we think because they're all fat soluble that they may enhance the absorption of each of the supplements individually when taken all together, which was what we proposed to do in this study. But we wanted to test the tolerability of the three supplements together, and that was the purpose of the study that we're presenting at the CRA, which was to treat people who are healthy volunteers with the three supplements and be certain that we were going to have good tolerability. And we were happy to see that.
Really, really exciting research. Congratulations. Um, the study showing improvements in joint pain, fatigue, morning stiffness, even among healthy participants. I'm not sure if that caught you by surprise, but that's really astounding. Were there any other findings that surprised you?
Yeah, I'll mention this in my talk, but we have to keep in mind that this is an open label study. So we didn't have a placebo arm, and you have to really be careful about the interpretation of that. We were very pleased, very surprised, as you mentioned, that we saw a reduction in those very important measures that we associate with rheumatoid arthritis. Certainly, we didn't want to see the trend lines going in the opposite direction, which is worsening of those symptoms. So we were really happy to see that. But it's hard to know how much of that is a placebo effect versus an actual effect of the medication. The optimistic view would be that, yes, we have done something that has reduced pain and stiffness in these individuals, but I think the jury's still out on that. Um, we think these symptoms are really important. So we were piloting a number of things, not just the safety and tolerability of these supplements, but also, our own protocols. We're going to be measuring really important symptoms and ways of detecting what we think is subclinical arthritis in people who are at risk. So we're looking at things like morning stiffness, joint tenderness, joint pain, and function. And all of those parameters really did show improvement over the course of just a month on these supplements. So we were very, very surprised and very happy to see that. And we expect that we may see similar things when we actually move forward to the next phase of our study, which is treating individuals who are considered at high risk to develop RA.
Before we get into the evolving nature of the research, because we do want to look and talk in a little more detail about the those future trials. Um, were there any common side effects observed during this trial, and how significant were they for participants?
Yeah, it's a really important question and something that we really wanted to measure in a way that was not just objective, but systematic. And so we were able to get a lot of data on self-reported side effects. And there were things that we were expecting to see based on the known side effects that are reported with the individual supplements, particularly the fish oil, which is the omega-3 that can sometimes cause bloating and and feeling bloating and abdominal pain, which would be the more common side effects that you might see with that particular supplement. So we were, first of all, very pleased to see that the tolerability of the three supplements, at least in this group, was very high. I mean, very few people were actually reported side effects, and if they did, when we measured them based on severity, they were mostly mild. So we're really, really thrilled to see that. So we feel that the tolerability is quite high. There were some people who reported side effects. The most common would be abdominal pain and bloating, as expected. There really weren't any signals for other types of side effects, self-reported side effects. And we were also really encouraged because we measured side effect profiles over time. And what we found was trends to suggest that the side effects actually improve over time. And so I think the message for people is if you have mild abdominal bloating or abdominal pain, you should feel fairly optimistic that that's going to get better over the course of the study, and at least in some people. So we're really encouraged to see that as well. And we did profile hematology and biochemistry and a number of different parameters that I won't get into, but really saw no signal of anything worrisome in those who were taking the supplements over the course of the 1 month study.
Really encouraging news. Now, before these findings might eventually influence clinical practice, you've said that there's going to be a need for further research. What are the next steps in your research? And can you tell us, when you might anticipate starting a larger trial to test this combination?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. So as I mentioned, we're really interested in preventing RA. So the first step is finding people who are at higher than average risk to develop rheumatoid arthritis. And so we've done this by using several lessons that we've learned over the last number of years. So the first is that we focused a lot of our work on First Nations populations in Manitoba. So First Nations have higher than average risk of developing RA in many communities. The ones that we work with are Fisher River Cree Nation and Norway House Cree Nation. We've documented higher than expected prevalence of rheumatoid arthritis in those communities. This is mainly based on genetic risk. And we and others have documented a clear evidence that many of these communities have high rates of what's called shared epitope, which is a risk allele that leaves you vulnerable to the developing RA. And so we've mainly focused on these communities, and we've also focused on finding people in Winnipeg as well, because of course that's where our research institute is, and it helps if we can try to find individuals at high risk locally so that we can also offer them opportunities to contribute to research endeavors like this. And so what we've done is we've really learned that the best blood test that helps identify those who are at the highest risk to develop RA, irrespective of symptoms, is something called anti-citrullinated protein antibodies. So these are the antibodies that we use to test people who have established RA. And we know that these develop often years before people actually develop the disease. And so we try to find people who are either from communities that we know have high rates of rheumatoid arthritis, or we look for people who are first degree relatives of people with RA, presumably who share that genetic risk. And we find first degree relatives and we screen them for antibodies. And if they're positive, then we really think that these are the people who are most likely to benefit from a prevention protocol. So we're in the later stages of screening hundreds of people for this antibody. We found many who have the antibody and are excited for the opportunity to participate in this type of research program. And so our next step is to undertake a very similar study that we've already done, an open label study. So we've done over 3 months as opposed to 1 month, which is what we're presenting in the healthy volunteers at the meeting. And we're hoping to learn a lot of things about after undertaking this protocol. And we really tried to power the study to detect a reduction in the antibody level. We know that this is the most important risk factor for developing RA. We think that if we can reduce it, that may be a good surrogate marker for understanding if we're actually influencing RA risk. Of course, the best type of study would be to look at the development of rheumatoid arthritis. We know based on our studies that this takes 3 to 5 years before you can even find somebody with antibodies who's actually going to develop RA. And this would take it would be a much larger undertaking. We don't want to do that until we've kind of proven the concept that these 3 supplements actually do something biologically. Once we've done that, we do think that this will set the stage for a larger national, hopefully international multi-site study of RA prevention, which will be powered to reduce RA risk as opposed to looking at surrogate biomarkers.
Great information, great story. Congratulations again, Dr. O'Neill.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to be here and to hopefully educate some people and get the word out about RA prevention. It's really important.
Absolutely. Thanks for sharing those key takeaways from the podium presentation, and we'll be watching and monitoring your progress, and certainly when it goes to this next stage, we'll be looking forward to talking to you and getting an update from you. Congratulations again, and thanks everyone else for watching. We hope you can join us again for our next episode of #CRArthritis as we share more exciting science like Dr. O'Neill's. Bye for now.